Hi there. This is Jean Roman with For Dragonflies and Me. Thanks so much for joining me at this week's podcast. As always, I'm super excited to be here sharing gardening, cooking, organizational tips and tricks, and having conversations with incredible entrepreneurs. I have a really special guest today, and I would love to introduce you to Kat Sturtz, life mentor and purgatory relief coach for people who think marketing is hell. Welcome, Kat.
Thanks, Jean. We've known each other quite a while.
Yes, and I loved your purgatory coach. That is just like, I personally love marketing, but I think it's great, and I think you really do a great job with helping people realize it's not as bad as what some people think. But Kat, I always tell people, kind of give a little backstory about how I met my guest, and well, today is no different. So everybody listening today, Kat and I met back in about 2012 when I was just starting out on my writing journey. And after we had a wonderful conversation over the phone, I was off to one of her writing groups. At my first group meeting, I was just in awe at how wonderful she and the group were, how welcoming and informative. The guidance and encouragement I received cannot be expressed in words. I was so touched. And to this day, I truly feel Kat helped me get the legs underneath me to stand on and go for it. I started rocking my path. Soon after I started attending the writing group, I began blogging for the Detroit News, the Good Life blog, other online publications, and even a couple magazines. And that is what we are going to focus on during this segment of For Dragonflies and Me. Today, Kat and I are going to talk about mindset and motivation and how she guides people to grow in their solo entrepreneurship. Well, Kat, I feel extremely privileged that you've taken time out of your super crazy busy schedule to share your wealth of knowledge and insight with all of my listeners today. So again, welcome, Kat.
Well, thanks for inviting me. And I do remember being really active with the local group and you being a part of my words work writing workshop.
Yeah, that's a tongue twister.
It is
yes.
That 6-week program, and it was a pleasure watching you blossom and helping you edit things and find some of your outlets for publishing. And look what you've done.
I know. And I honestly give you all the credit for it whenever I talk to people, because it was during that group that I don't remember when I came the one night and said I got the gig with the Detroit News, and I was just ecstatic. And I would not have taken that leap of faith had I not been with you in that group. And so, I just cannot say thank you enough. And having you here as one of my podcast guests is just such a blessing to me. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. But now I want you to tell my listeners a little bit about yourself and how you started your business, where you've been, and where you're at now.
Well, I started working back when I was age 11 for my stepfather back in Detroit for my stepfather's accounting firm. It was just him and his father and his mother and his sister at the time, but I would go in and help file things. We had one of the first copy machines where you literally had to pick this huge thing up and set it down over the paper, press a button and lift it up and move the paper. And then I moved into working at age 14 to Weinstein Jewelers, which is a famous jeweler in Detroit, who had an outlet down the street from us. And I had literally walked in and out of every store telling my mom I wasn't going to be home until I had a job. And then when I was 16 and still in school, I worked for Michigan Bell. We called it Ma Bell back in the day. For directory assistance. And I was even trained on the toll boards where you see the old pictures of operators pushing plugs into the wall with cords attached.
Okay, I knew how to do yourself, that. You're not that old.
Well, I am that old. I'm 70 now and still going
Oh, well, you
strong.
look
So,
fabulous. I hope I look as good as you do when I'm 70.
well, thank you. Anyway, I ended up marrying a dairy farmer right out of high school and milked cows and lived on the farm for 25 years. And in 1971, I started writing and I fell into writing backwards. I wrote a letter to the editor about a farming issue, and my husband didn't tell me, but he mailed it in. I was kind of a closet writer. I wrote to get things off my chest. And the next day I got a call from the editor saying, I just received this letter from you. And I went, uh-oh, because it was pretty strong. And he said, I like the way you write. Would you take over our Farmer's Wife column?
Oh
And
my
that's how I
gosh.
got started in writing. I wrote for many, many years, freelance writing for the local newspaper, for some national magazines, for Detroit News, the Saginaw News. And between 1986 and 2003, I published 15 books, 14 of those with major publishers, including several about writing and publishing, which led me to do the course that you ended up in.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, I kind of like, now that we're talking about all this, I remember the dairy wife, and that kind of was more pertinent to my lifestyle back then when we first met. Because for Dragonfly listeners, when you all first met me on Facebook, I was Mennonite, and you started following me there. And when Kat and I first met, I was Mennonite at that point too, and you got to see a whole transition with me, Kat.
I did.
Yeah, yeah. And it's been definitely a journey, but one where I feel, everything I have been through has led me to where I am today. And I just feel like um I've learned so much. And I often think that had I not been in that space, that Mennonite space, I'd have never met you. I would have never started canning and gardening like I did, and cooking, and eventually writing my cookbook, and going to your writing group. And it just is, this step by step that has been nothing but positive, even though, a divorce resulted out of it. That even that, everything happens for a reason, right? And I believe that that whole time in my life, meeting you was not an accident. And
No, I don't believe in coincidences.
me neither. Absolutely not. And I've talked to a few other people that I've had podcast guests as well, and the same thing there. It is no meeting by coincidence. I feel the universe has, brought specific people into our lives for specific reasons. And um, again, I really look back over the years and meeting you and just the group and the encouragement, and that's where I am today. And I am just, again, so grateful for that and for everything. And we all have our bumps in the road, but we just keep pressing on, right?
Well, that's a great segue into what I do now, because the farm community led me to do volunteer work with Michigan Farm Bureau, where I had a chance to do television work, where I was an on-air correspondent. It led me to learn graphic arts and more about editing and getting out into the community. I love helping people find their unique path to success. I don't believe that there's only one path that we follow. I believe there are many paths that we can follow. I also believe that we can make wrong decisions along a path, but I don't think any path in particular is the wrong path. It's just which one we choose to follow that really lights us up and ignites our passion. And it's a joy for me to help people find that, especially if they're like you and I both. We are full of ideas. And how do you manage multiple ideas and bring it together in a cohesive way where you can rock it together on the same path?
Yes, absolutely. Which is going to lead me into my next question for you. I would love for you to chat a little bit about your fresh start strategies and your clear your path and Lifeline programs. I really think my listeners can benefit from these programs. So share a little bit for us, please.
Well, like I say on my website, I've been there, I've done that. And then I finally ditched the whole collection of ill-fitting t-shirts when I realized that I was trying to fit into somebody else's idea of what my life and business should be like. And again, you have to follow that unique path for yourself. I'm very intuitive. So one of my special skills is listening to someone and hearing them recount what they believe their struggles are, and pulling out the gems and helping them to either reframe it or see things that they may be missing out of their own descriptions of things they either dislike or like. So they can illuminate that path. Fresh Start Strategies is part of that. I have a one-off meeting with people that they can purchase from me that is like a mini program to my Lifeline program. My Lifeline program starts at 3 months commitment, where I help people move forward along their unique path to success. Clear My Path really helps what I feel are the core issues behind mindset and motivation problems. And that's when you find yourself stuck, stumped, or stalled. And often when I talk to somebody, what they think has them stuck, stumped, or stalled is not what I see as the obstacle or hidden barrier in their way. And if you don't mind, I want to talk a little bit about obstacles and hidden barriers.
Oh no, absolutely. That's why we're here.
People need to know my definition of those. An obstacle is something that you recognize is in your path. I am the queen of procrastinating. And even my husband recognizes the fact that if I am spending a lot of time deep cleaning the house, I'm probably procrastinating a big, scary business project, because my house is never cleaner than when I've got a big, scary business project I'm procrastinating. So I know procrastination is one of the obstacles that are in my path. But because I recognize it, I'm also aware of the things I can do to get past it. But knowing what to do in your head and actually doing the things to get past them are two different things.
Yes,
that's where the hidden barriers. What's the hidden barrier that's preventing me from putting this excellent information that I know into practice? And that's kind of where the people that I coach, that's what they love about working with me, is I help them find and uncover those hidden barriers. So it's one thing to know your obstacles. It's another thing to bring light to the hidden barriers to really make progress and get past that stuck, stumped, or stalled.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of amazing because I think I told you, I just recently resigned from my full-time job. And after I had, reconnected with you during this and, doing a little bit more research. And then I also had attended this lead hership seminar, and it was just basically on female entrepreneurship. And I realized that, I'm staying up late every single night trying to write, trying to build this podcast, trying to, get my new cookbook going. And one of my obstacles was my day job. And I am fortunate enough to have been able to resign from my full-time day job. I know that's not everybody's situation, but that was definitely what I feel was one of my obstacles. And just, again, chatting with you about some things and talking to other women that I met at this seminar. And I just realized it's like, I have a foot on both sides of the fence. I'm here again, and I need to take that leap of faith. And I feel so much better about it. And that kind of leads me into my next topic, my next question for you. I would really like you to talk to my listeners about your easy Trello course. And Dragonfly listeners, just to give you a little heads up, I will be doing a blog on this and giving you the information on how to reach out to Kat. I am personally taking this course right now, and it is wonderful because you take it at your own leisure. I'm very, very busy, and it's got several modules, and I can listen to them at my own pace, which is what I love about it. And also, Kat is 100% available through messaging systems with any questions that I have on it. And she's already helped me with it one time as I've needed it. And so, Kat, tell my listeners a little bit more about it, because I am still learning and loving it. And loving it.
Well, I have a lot of courses like the easy organizing and flexible filing system. I tell people I teach differently. So the way other people teach things is not wrong. It's just that the same manner of instruction doesn't resonate with everyone the same way. And like I said, I just teach things differently. Trello, for those who are unaware of what it is an online organizational system based on a Kanban method, which is a Japanese method of having a grouping of lists with cards on each list that all relate to each other in some way. So in Trello, we have a workspace, boards. On those boards, we have lists, and on the lists, we have cards. And it just helps keep me organized in a very visual and creative way, where I don't feel like I'm stuck in somebody else's method of doing something.
Yeah.
I like to joke that as much as I like time and physical organization, I would be banned from a professional organizers or kicked out, because the traditional ways that are taught are very anal to me. We don't have the flexibility in it. I'm habitually curious and creatively organized is what I tell people.
You are. I will vouch for you.
And when we help someone on their path, the people that come to me, those who recognize themselves in that purgatory relief coach for people who think marketing is hell, I help them understand they don't have to do the part of marketing that they think they dislike. So you don't need to learn it or love it to do it better. Mm-hmm. But Trello is one of the things that I teach because it helps with productivity. And I teach people to use it in a way that can capture all of the ideas that they have. All of the bits of information, like if you have, and I'm a paper person, I have lovely paper notes, but with Trello, it helps me understand where I've put those notes. So I keep going back to Trello. Okay, it's like, where did I put this? Oh, this card says it's there. So I go over in that bucket, and my gosh, that's exactly where that folder is that I needed. Mm-hmm. So it's a productivity tool. It's my favorite one to use. It's not the only one I use. I also use Airtable, but I have many people that are taking that course or took that course, and they love it because they learn how to rock their own path using it, make it work for them rather than trying to pigeonhole their mindset and habits into a program. Well, I switch it completely around, how to make the program work for you rather than you work for the program.
Yeah. And let me just say, since my creation of my first account, and listeners, Dragonfly listeners, also, there are paid and free accounts. I have a free account, but since my first account, which I utilize for my blog, podcast, and my future YouTube, all my writing gigs, I guess is the best way to describe it. I have one account, but my business partner and I, we also act as booking agents for almost 100 food trucks, and that company is Food Trucks to You. And since I've been taking your course, Kat, I now have created a second account where we are now learning to have it as more of a group setting, which you can do too. And yeah, I'm really loving it. I'm still, like I said, I'm still learning. I'm taking it as I can, each of the modules. But one thing I do want to say that I loved about how you one of your teaching techniques in that is how you describe Trello as a filing cabinet. And listeners, if I may just elaborate a little bit on that, Kat. So what Kat tells us is that Trello is like the filing cabinet. And Kat, correct me if I make any mistakes. So Trello is like our filing cabinet. And then each of the boards is like a file. And each of the cards is like a sheet of paper that goes in that file. Is that correct, Kat?
Yep.
Look at that. I learned.
And if you think of a card like having a 3x5 card that has a front and back, that's exactly what a Trello card is. The part you see when you first look at the board and you can see all of your cards as you scroll around, that's like looking at one side of your 3x5 card. When you click into the card, it's like turning over that 3x5 card that suddenly becomes as big as you need it to be.
With all the details.
With all of the details on it. Exactly. And listeners need to know that I didn't get Trello at first. I tried it 3 different times over multiple months before I thought, I can't do it the way they're teaching me. I'm going to do it the way I think it should be done. Then it clicked. The other thing your listeners need to know is I still, despite having probably 75 workspaces and over 100 boards, I'm still on a free account.
Yeah, it is really nice. It's a great
very
program.
Powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am just so glad. And actually, listeners, I fell into this Trello family during a conversation I was having with Kat planning this podcast segment, and she was showing me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I like that. I'm all about organization. And as you all know, I do an annual month of just organizational blogs, which I do in January. And so that's when my Trello blog is going to be coming out. But I really like it. And one other thing with my creative side is I can put like whatever photograph I want on each of those boards to identify. So like I will take a picture of something that I've cooked, that I've done a blog on, and put that for my recipes. And so it's not just this blank canvas. You can really personalize it to reflect who you are with photographs, and it's beautiful. It's not just useful, it's really pretty as well.
It's like you mentioned, it's extremely flexible. Yep. And one of the things I like best about it is the free phone app that syncs almost immediately. So if I'm out and about, I can get to all of my basic information.
Yeah, I have not got to that part yet. I did see it, and I know you talk about it early on in the course. I'm just not at that step yet. So I'm taking my time. I've actually listened to a couple things over again so that I can really, I'm taking notes, and I really want to be able to absorb all the information. And it is a wealth of information. But not only is it a wealth of information, listeners, you have lifetime access to this course once you purchase it. And it is so reasonable, Kat. I just couldn't even believe it, to be honest with you. And I'm just, yeah, it is something that I will treasure for a long time.
Yep. Not only lifetime access to it, you can join the free Rocking Your Path community on Facebook and get some personalized help there. Plus, I'm starting a new series called Trello Bites. You know, that ancient fossil. Trello actually approved my use of the name Trello Bites. Cool. Yep. They didn't have to do that, and I didn't have to ask about it, but I didn't want to run into legalities using it. And they're just little snippets of ways of using it that people may have forgotten about, or new plugins or capabilities it can do, or just different ways of managing the boards. I always tell people that if you think of Trello as having two types of containers, one is workflow. And you mentioned managing your podcast and how the episodes are flowing and getting the guests and keeping track of all of that information. That's kind of a workflow. Other things like, where do I keep all of the testimonials from my fans? That's on what I call a repository board, where all kinds of information that I need to reference. Recipes are a repository board. I have not found anything yet that I couldn't organize better using a Trello board.
Well, I love the one technique that you show of how you can drag and drop, like when you go into your Trello account and then you click on the board and open it in a new tab, and then you can drag, and I've done this, and with the repository boards, I have created, I've always use a quote at the beginning of my blogs. And so the ones that I like the best, I now have dragged and dropped into a quote board in the one as a repository board. And I've also done that with a couple other things. So yeah, the program is just incredible. And it is so easy to learn from and to utilize. So I mean, I love it, and I cannot wait to share with all of my podcast listeners, as well as my blog family and Facebook, to share that information with them.
And very robust, because the search feature is awesome. So you don't have to remember what board did I put that on. You can usually find it with a simple search.
Exactly. It is. I honestly, Kat, I'm not going to lie. I could not believe when you showed it to me that first time that I'd never heard of it. I'm like, how could I have never heard about this? I've been in in event management for how many years, and nobody ever mentioned this to me, or nobody that I know uses it. And I think it is an underutilized tool that I've told so many people about since you introduced me to it.
That's cool.
Yeah, super cool. But so I am so excited to share that with all of my listeners and my blog family. But I guess it's time to start wrapping up. And I just want to say thank you again, Kat, for being here. And if you are interested, listeners, in any more information, you can definitely see Kat's website at rockingyourpath.com. And I will also have all of the links on my blog as well as my Facebook page. And again, Kat, thank you for being here. I really appreciated you being here.
It's wonderful seeing you shine.
Oh, thank you. Again, you definitely gave me those legs to start rocking my path. But Kat, this has been great. Thank you again for joining me today and sharing your thoughts and ideas on your mindset and motivation, and of course, Trello. But listeners, thank you again as well for being here. And please follow me here and at my blog at fordragonfliesandme.com. If you have not visited me on Facebook, please like and follow me there for daily inspiration, recipes, and gorgeous photos. Until next time, happy day.